Namaste and hello everyone. I hope this finds you well amidst these troubling times for which we are faced with so much difficulty, that within our news we're constantly bombarded with all kinds of terrifying futures, and worst of all, so many of the reports are in conflict, making it more stressful for us to even decide a strong and productive course of action for ourselves individually and collectively. The one thing that we do know for certain, though, is the importance of a healthy immune system at a time like this, and how much our stress and anxiety, in fact, downregulates and disables our immune function. And that's the very purpose of this 5-part series on the breath and our nervous system. Our nervous system can be looked at in 2 parts. One being the central, volitional conscious control system. That's the system that enables us to actually make muscles work to pick up a glass of water, put it to our lips and tilt it in order to drink from it, as and when we choose to. But the part that is perhaps more interesting is in the autonomic component of it, a part of the nervous system that works automatically for us. Most of these functions have no means of conscious control in them, except for one, which we will examine in a moment, being the breath. But for now, our interest in the autonomic nervous system is primarily because that's where the fight or flight system and the rest and recovery neural system lies. The fight or flight is increased or triggered when we're faced with some degree of threat. And that's the stress, that's the anxiety that we were talking about a little earlier. And when activated, increases heart rate, blood pressure, starts to increase the flow of adrenaline, devotes all of our resources towards actually fighting some perceived danger or running away from it. So what this does is it cuts a lot of circulation, for example, to the inner organs for digestion, for rejuvenation, healing. It actually reduces a lot of our higher level executive brain functions as well, limiting us to a simplistic stress circuit. And it's in this response, especially when it's chronically triggered, that our immune systems are compromised, and it actually even upregulates systemic inflammation and gene activation toward negative outcomes. The opposite, however, is in the relaxation response. And within that response, heart rate is decreased, blood pressure decreased, breath rate decreased, adrenal secretions decrease. The body is allowed or put through a lot less stress, a lot less wear and tear. And in that state is allowed for actual blood to redirect or resources to be redirected toward the inner organs, the kidneys, the livers, but also digestion. And we know that when this relaxation response is consistently triggered to some depth, that we can see that even on a cellular level, that there is a reversal of cellular degradation and aging. It's in this nervous system activation as well, the rest and relaxation response, that our minds are at the clearest. Our decision-making process is intact. We have intuition. We have creative thinking, problem solving. We have the capacity to mirror and be empathetic toward another in order to foster better relationships and a sense of wholeness. All of the things that are the most important at times like this, especially when our immune systems are bolstered by it. We are by far better at fighting any kind of pathogens when our rest and relaxation system is dominant. The two systems are not a simple on and off switch. They're constantly in a seesawing continuum, and lying within our autonomic system, they are in many ways unreachable, inaccessible to us, not by direct control, in the same way you can think about this in the heartbeat. We cannot directly control our heart rates, If we wanted to, we could try and do as many push-ups as possible, and you may find that the heart rate increases, but we are not in direct control, nor can we say and dictate for it to go up to 120 and stop. Neither can we do this with pupil dilation. But the one thing that is within autonomic nervous system control, that has equal parts conscious and volitional control, is the breath. This whole time that you've been listening to this recording, watching this video, you have not been regulating your breath. But yet, as much as the body has been breathing of its own this whole time, if you wanted to hold the breath in now, you could. If you wanted to slow it now, you could. Deepen it now, you could. Quicken it now, you could. To some extent. And this is what makes the breath so special, as that gateway between the conscious and the subconscious, in order to help recalibrate nervous system activation. Another way of understanding this is to realize the role of the breath between physical and mental states. To even think about starting exercise is enough to elevate our breath rate without any actual activity being undertaken. But so too, to be told a very funny joke, you would find that it elicits a response. We call it laughter. Ha, ha, ha. But all laughter really is its expression in a change of breath. So too when we're really sad. That sobbing that happens when we cry. A change of breath. And if somebody were to jump out of nowhere to scare you now, we gasp. Change of breath. The breath is so intimately linked to any level of change and activity within mind and body, emotion or thought. And therefore, when we understand this link, and when we appreciate that this link goes both ways, that the ways in which we choose to use the breath can also therefore influence states of body, mind and emotion, that's where breath work becomes so important at times like this. To then be able to tip the balance away from our fight or flight system towards our rest and recovery system. One of the simplest and most effective breathing practices we can use to this effect is the releasing breath. One in which we take a full breath in and freely let the breath go, perhaps even with a gentle sigh. This can be done exhaling through the nose or the mouth, although through the mouth it would be encouraged to start with. And as a technique is precisely that simple. But there's so many times where I've seen people utilize this breath very harshly, breathing like this. Does that sound relaxing to you? And so that opens up a second aspect of our breathing practice, an approach that has to be considered equally. That it's not just technique when we talk about breath work, it's also attitude. A certain attitude must be encouraged in order for the breathing practices to be at their most beneficial. Our breaths are often already tense, tight, rigid. So to our bodies, when we are skewed towards fight or flight activation within us. So to breathe in that aggressive, hasty, forceful manner surely would only serve to worsen it. The releasing breaths, therefore, are as much about how we do them as opposed to just the technique of taking a fuller breath in and letting them go. It starts by us adopting a far more leisurely attitude. To breathe in particular, as if we had all the time in the world with nothing else to do, like we were going for a Sunday stroll. And with that attitude to breathe in very gently, tenderly even, slowly building to this sense of a fuller breath. And of course, sometimes when the instruction is given to be a fuller breath, we tend to think we need to then force into that fullness. That's not what this is about either. When the body is tensed and there's a lot of tension restricting the volume of breath available, a sense of fullness may arise at 50% of our lung capacity. so be it. The moment we feel any kind of resistance that leads us to an appreciation of fullness in the lungs or the breath, that's when we release. And when we release, the whole point is to be entirely passive. The exhalation helps us experience in body and mind what it means to actually then let go of our burdens, our difficulties. And there's no amount of forcefulness that will achieve this, because it's forcefulness and effort and tension that we're hoping to let go in the first place. To aggressively push that breath out would be the equivalent of trying to put a fire out by throwing burning sticks at it. So the exhalation is of the utmost importance that we learn to give away effortlessly. The dynamics of this can be understood through the elasticity of our muscles, that upon that effort to actually breathe in, however gentle it may be, there is a certain degree of effort to draw breath in, that if we were to simply switch off that effort, to completely deactivate, you would find the elastic properties of the respiratory muscles naturally rebound the breath out. For us to actually be able to experience this state of passivity is where the magic of this simple practice unfolds and is instilled within us. The first few breaths, maybe only at 50% of your lung capacity, may still happen quite quickly. It's important that we be okay with this, to start small, to start simple, just to be content to feel a simple, soft sensation of release on exhalation. But you may find that the more you do this, the more that feeling comes alive within you, mind and body, the more space it enables you subsequently to breathe in a little slower, a little deeper. And breath by breath in this way, if we are attentive, we start to see the shift, the change, not only in the technique, the mechanics of breath, that slowly the body enables us space to breathe to our 60%, our 70% of lung capacity, to do this even slower and gentler on the way in. But to feel the depth of that passivity, that switching off, that letting go, that unburdening as a felt sense within mind and body. And of course, the more connected we are to the feeling, the more potent the practice is, breath by breath, as we build into it. And this in itself can be a wonderful way to short circuit that constant fight or flight nervous system activation. These, of course, are just words, theory. What counts is our experience of this. So let's prepare for a short practice. You're very welcome to be lying down for this practice, so feel free to have a mat rolled out, lying comfortably. But you're also very welcome to be seated, as long as you can be seated in a manner that is fully supported with the spine upright but relaxed. Otherwise, lie comfortably. Have the eyes and lips gently closed and take time to adjust into this state of comfort, being very open to playing around and experimenting with your placement until you find for yourself through experience what is in fact most comfortable. And then continue to do this all the way up the body, the hips, lower back of particular significance. So take time to wriggle, to tilt, discarding any notion of right or wrong posture or alignment, choosing instead to feel in present moment what suits, what feels good. And when it does feel good, be encouraged to then relax into it. Then continue to scan through the rest of the spine, abdomen, and chest. To make any adjustments to the way in which hands, arms have been positioned, looking for symmetry and a sense of ease. The capacity to relax shoulders, back of neck. Adjusting the way the head has been positioned, softening the muscles in the face. And then scanning from top to bottom again, slowly, to ensure that the body does indeed have all that it needs to be comfortable, and that this is as comfortable as you can position yourself. Notice if the mind has decided to wander off, to take this for granted. Bring it back and know that there is value and merit in this process. Because the moment you are truly clear on this fact that there is nothing more you can do, it enables a state of surrender. Having done everything possible with nothing else you can do, it makes perfect sense to leave the body as it is. When you feel this, you know this, nothing more to be done. Start to experience the movement of breath within the body, and gradually, in the most leisurely fashion, taking a slightly fuller breath in, maybe only 40–50% of lung capacity. Wherever you feel a slight resistance, a sense of fullness, switch off, mouth open, let it go. Gradually breathing in again when ready, continuing to breathe in this way now. But as you do continue to breathe and feel the experience of breath within the body, you may like to conjure an image of yourself going on the most leisurely Sunday stroll or Sunday drive. No real aim, no destination, no goal. All the time in the world. Awaken that mood and utilize that with the next inhalation, letting it be even softer. And so too as you exhale, allowing it to be a complete deactivation, total passivity, completely letting go of effort. As you continue to breathe in this way, you may find that a certain degree of spaciousness emerges, one that invites the breath in to be a little bit slower even, gentler even, deeper even. Maybe reaching 50–60% of lung capacity, taking time to do this. Being present with that sensation, that sense of openness and expansiveness with the breath in. And remaining connected to experience that complete deactivation, that wave of softness that comes with the breath out. Preparing to apply a different imagery to help us deepen in appreciation of the mood behind the exhalation. You may like to start seeing yourself having come home from a long day out in the sun maybe, working hard, finally home in a cool space, stood in front of your favorite chair. And with the next breath in, you feel that slow expansiveness. And with the next exhalation, see yourself sink into that chair as you let out a gentle sigh, as if to signal the end of all of your efforts, the end of any difficulty, to signal the start of rest and relaxation. Let each exhalation be this passive sigh of relief now. And notice how that creates even more space for the subsequent breaths to be deeper and slower, maybe 70% of your lung capacity now. Each exhalation starts to feel as if the whole body is sighing out, as if this release and relief comes from and reaches the whole being. And know that the more connected you are to this feeling of each breath, the more responsive you can be to the body's invitation to slow the breath even more, to be more leisurely, to then take a slightly deeper breath in this soft manner, 80% maybe of your lung capacity. At some point, maybe moving to 90. Be very careful that there should never be a sense of effort or strain with this breath. That would be entirely counterproductive. Be willing to hold back, to be patient and leisurely, and to slowly build into this. To let each exhalation gradually peel back layers of stress and anxiety. Appreciating also that the more connected you are to the feeling of each breath, the more that feeling is installed within mind and emotional state. And as the thoughts start to slow for that, deepen into the practice by being just as leisurely, not only with pathway of breath, but with mind on exhalation. When you next let the breath out, allow the mind to drop back into this quiet, patient space where you are very content to do absolutely nothing. And there you wait. Wait to actually feel the body want to breathe in before breathing in. Now be very clear, there's no goal or ambition here. So make no effort to either delay the breath in or to rush it. The essence of the practice is in the passivity of mind now. The body we know deactivates for breath out, but let it happen mentally as well on a deeper level to wait. And whenever the body wants to breathe in, then breathe in. It's not unusual as you continue with these breaths that pause between breath out and breath in starts to extend naturally though. And don't be surprised, sometimes this gap can be much, much longer than you anticipate. Be open to the spontaneous nature of breath now. Passive of body with breathing, passive of mind, exploring each breath. 5 more. And at the end of the next exhalation, stay in that patient, still space, releasing any control of the breath, but waiting there to notice how different you may feel having done what you've just done. Simple, simple practice. If the body feels a little lighter, less tensed, if the mind is a little slower, calmer, if so, then appreciate this is how the breath impacts the nervous system in return. Slowly reconnect with your environment. Gradually coming up from your position as and when you feel ready to. Opening the eyes in your own time. Know that the practice is now complete. And in its simplicity becomes a practice that we can adopt at any time, anywhere. But it's not merely a practice of technique. It involves attitude as well, and the attitude is one that's leisurely and patient. So equally, appreciate that we're cultivating these aspects too, emphasizing that leisureliness and patience every time you come to this practice. I hope it serves you well. Stay tuned for the second part of the series. Namaste. All the best, everyone. Take care.